Okay, so the way I like to oh, here we go. The way I like to describe law of cosines is basically it is Pythagorean theorem on steroids. Okay. Now, again, when we do face-to-face learning, which is regular learning, like I like to explain how to get these formulas so that you know that they're just not pulled out of thin air, that it's built on what you already know in the past. They just combine some stuff, rearrange some stuff, do some substitutions usually, and they get you to the new formula. But we don't have time for that kind of explanation in this shortened year. So here I'm going to do what I usually don't like doing, which is basically saying, hey guys, here's the formula, let's use it. Okay, I like to explain it usually. Okay, now here's the deal. Okay, I'm focused here, but not really. I'm really focused here. Okay, because I don't like these three equations here, because that means you have to memorize these three formulas there, because that means you have to memorize three formulas. I rather you just work with one formula, okay, rather than three. Okay. So let's start with this top one first, though, just as a starting point. Okay. So if you remember Pythagorean theorem, okay, if you remember Pythagorean theorem right here, okay, A, B, C, A squared equals 2, B squared, or A squared plus B squared equals to C squared. That only works for right triangles. Okay, that only works for right triangles. Okay. Now, let's say we have a triangle over here, okay, and this said 30. No, let's go with 55. Okay. Let's say that this is 55. Let's make it a nice clean number like 50. Let's call this and let's call this 3, and let's call this 6. Yeah, let's call this 5. Okay. Now the cool thing about law of cosines, this works for any kind of triangle. It does not have to be a right triangle. Okay. So if you want to find A, okay, we're going to plug it into this formula right here. Okay. A squared is going to equal to little b squared, which is 5 squared, plus 3 squared. Okay. This blue stripe right here is kind of getting in the way. There you go. 5 squared plus 3 squared, okay, minus 2 times little b times little c times cosine of 50 degrees. Okay, look at how I plug that in, folks. Okay, look at the yellows here. Yellow, yellow, yellow. That yellow is too big right there. Yellow, yellow. Okay, look at those yellows. And then look at these pinks. Okay, pink, pink, and let's go with pink, pink, and I don't know why I wrote the C there. I'm a dummy. I meant to write 3 right here. Okay. Pink. And let's go with 3. Okay. Cosine of 50. Let's dip that in orange. Okay. Orange. Orange and pink. Okay. Look at how I plug those in. Okay. That's the hardest part, plugging it in. Okay. Now you literally put this in the calculator pretty much how you see it. Okay. Put in your calculator pretty much how you see it. Maybe just to be safe, I would put a parentheses. Okay, I would put a parentheses around that just to be safe. Okay. So, and don't forget, whatever you get after plugging this in, square root it to get a, because this is a squared. Okay, that's a squared. Okay, and make sure your calculus in degrees. So here is, let's use this formula instead. Okay, all right, instead of using these 3. Okay, so we don't always have to try to pick which one we have to use from these 3. Let's just use this one. Now, SI means side of interest. Okay. OS means other side. Okay. So let's say we're interested. Let's use that logic. Let's use this logic to find A. Okay. So let's say we're trying to find little a. That's a side of interest. So that's A. Little a, I mean. Okay. Other side 1, other side 2. It doesn't matter how you order it. Other side 1 is 3. Let's call it 3. Okay. Or let's call it 5. Other side 2, let's call it 3. Okay, it's the other sides. And then you just copy, paste it here. And then whatever the angle is in between other side 1 and 2, in this case, it's 50. Okay, that's the angle in between other side 1 and 2. All right. Now let's pretend it said, okay, let's pretend your information was ordered this way. Okay, I'm gonna redo the problem. Oh wait, so I just want to drive home that look at this equation now. Using this equation right here, using this formula I came up with, you still get the same plug-in. Okay, you still plug in the same numbers. Okay, so I would rather use this formula right here with SI and OS, because you get the same. As you can see, you get the same things that you plug in. So that because I feel this formula is simpler than memorizing these 3. Okay, you get a 3-for-1 deal with my formula. Okay, now let's pretend. Okay, let's pretend instead they gave you, okay, A as 4, okay, and C was 20. Okay, let's say C was 20. Okay, so how do we plug in with my formula? Okay, how do we plug with my formula? So now we're interested, let's say the problem's asking for C, little c. Okay, I'm interested in little c, so that's going to be side of interest, little c squared. OS1 could be 4 or 5. I'm going to call it 4. Other side 2 is 5. Again, copy down again here, 4 and 5. The angle between is 20. Okay, just plug that into your calculator. All right, so it works with any side of interest that you're trying to find. Okay, now here is where things get, I don't even want to say tricky, okay, because it's really not tricky. Okay, let's pretend you're trying to find an angle now. Okay, so I'll modify this problem yet again. Okay, let's say this was, I'm going to call this 3, 5, and 6. So let's say C was 3, A is 5, B is 6. And let's say they're asking for angle B. Okay, let's say they're asking for angle B. All right. All right. So now, so they're asking for angle B. So I'm going to call this uppercase B here. That's the angle that we want, and we're going to work backwards. Okay. So if we're interested in angle B, what are the other sides going to be? Okay, the other sides has to be 3 and 5. Okay, because we're looking at the angle in between 3 and 5. Okay, so let me phrase it this way. Angle B is in between 3 and 5. So 3 and 5 are our other side 1s and other side 2. Okay, which means side of interest is going to be 6. Okay, I hope you guys understand how I constructed that. Okay, I work inside out now because it's asking for the angle. So we start with the angle here. It's B. That's what we're looking for. So as of right now, my equation is going to be 6 squared. Okay. As of right now, my equation is going to be 6 squared equals to 3 squared plus 5 squared minus 2 times 3 times 5 times cosine of B. Okay. Now, if you understand that, you understand the hardest part. Now it's just isolating the cosine of B. This is where people, for some reason, this easy part is what trips people up. Okay. What I'm going to do is subtract 3 squared from both sides, and I'm going to subtract it here. Whoops. I'm also going to do the same thing for 5 squared. Okay. All right. So, okay. This is realistically not, realistically, there's no such triangle. So yeah, I'm going to have to modify it to this to be 8 for it to be a real life example. Okay. It's 8. All right. It's going to be 8. All right. Those are 8s. I had to modify it because I'm going to get a negative number. Okay. So I'll modify this a little bit more cleanly. And I'm going to get 8. And I'm going to get 8. Okay. So now I get 8 squared, which is 64 minus 9 minus 25. 8 squared minus 3 squared minus 5 squared is going to get us to be, it's going to be 30 equals to negative 2 times 3 times 5 cosine of B. Okay. So how do you do this now? So now I'm going to divide both sides by, here, let me just do it this way. No, actually keep it like, yeah, divide it by this. Okay, this cancels. I'm going to divide it by this. And when you do 30 divided by this, I would put this in brackets, by the way. Okay, I would put that in another parentheses. Okay, and whatever you get for this number, okay, whatever you get for this number, you just do the inverse cosine of. Okay, just do the inverse cosine of. Okay, and then you get the answer. With my luck, I can't believe that I got another, that even the 8 that I picked won't work. Okay, won't give a good triangle. Okay, so I'm going to modify that yet again to 9. Okay, it doesn't really matter. The procedure is the same. I just want it to be a triangle that actually, a triangle that exists. Okay, I'll make it actually 7. But okay, here, let me just do that quickly. Okay, this equals to 7. Okay, 7, 7. Again, the procedure is exactly the same. 49 minus 9 minus 25 15. Okay. And you will get, I believe it is -1/2 equals the cosine of b. And then just do inverse cosine of both sides to get b by itself. Okay, that's it. So again, just recapping on this, here you're working backwards. And the reason I explained this whole thing on the bottom is because people get confused on how to put it in your calculator. Subtract these two pieces first and then divide by this piece right here and do the inverse cosine of that. Long story short. Okay?